Hi, my name's Joni Hoffman. I am the festival coordinator for the West Virginia Quilt Festival. We will be here in the Summersville Arena on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Hours are 9 to 4 on Thursday and Friday, and Saturday will be open until, our hours are 9 to 5 on Thursday and Friday, and Saturday we will be open till 4. Admission is $10 at the door, and 2 and under get in free. We have over 200 quilts hanging this year, and our theme was celebrating Christmas. So we have got Christmas quilts galore and 3 special exhibits of Christmas quilts. This quilt that you're looking at now was made by a woman named Linda Schaefer, and she lives in Braxton County. Linda spent 5 years in the making of this quilt, and it is all hand embroidered and hand quilted, and it was selected as the top quilt here. It was best of show overall quilt, and Linda has 5 years in this quilt. So not all quilts are quick and easy. Some of them take some time, but you see she got a pretty good ribbon in exchange for her work. We have a category for best machine quilting and for best hand quilting, and this is the quilt that won for the best hand quilting. It's called Irv's Autumn Chain. There are this is a 2-block quilt. There is an applique leaf on one, and then there is a pieced kind of double Irish chain block. The quilt was hand pieced. The borders were added by machine, and then it was hand quilted. The quilting on this took over 300 hours, and this is the one that got the best hand quilting. The second part of the display that Sue Reich brought us was a collection of 25 vintage and antique red, white, and green quilts that corresponded to the Christmas theme. They don't particularly have Christmas decorations, but these are ones that would be good to display around your home. And they're all red, white, and green. Some of them are the original quilts. Others were quilt tops that she bought or someone else bought and then had quilted. So there's a separate display of 25 of these antique quilts. Now we've seen a couple of traditional pieced quilts. This one has a bit more modern edge, and it's very much graphic. This pattern was pieced together with a piece of paper as its base, and then they pieced it all together. It's not appliqued. The quilt is entirely pieced, and it's called Leo. It was a commercial pattern that she got. If you look at his eyes, these are 2 small pieces, and then the piecing proceeded around it. So this one is machine pieced and machine quilted, but it's a good modern graphic quilt. This is another quilt that's based on a traditional idea, but made with modern antiques. This quilt was made by Nancy Holdsworth of New Cumberland, West Virginia. She had a collection of vintage and very pretty handkerchiefs, so she decided to make these umbrella ladies, or to put them in the different poses using her fancy handkerchiefs. She constructed the quilt top, and then she had it machine quilted, and this quilt was selected as the best machine quilting winner. This is another one of our quilts that was done by a member of West Virginia Quilters, and this is one of the true scrap quilts. She started out where she told me that she saved all pieces of fabric down to 1-inch square. So she decided to come up with this pattern that would utilize those 1-inch squares. When you sew the little 1-inch squares together, they end up at 1/2 inch square. They're about the size of my fingernail. So Kim told me that this quilt has over 14,000 pieces in it, and it took her more than 350 hours to construct. But this is a really nice quilt, and this is kind of like the ones that they made in the Depression, where they had to make every single piece of fabric count because they didn't have the money to buy more. So this is one of our good ones, and she won an award on this one also. We have some special Christmas quilts that we are exhibiting this year, and this particular one was an exhibit by Sue Reich of Connecticut. Sue, in 2022, Sue was with a group of friends, and they were touring a group of Christmas quilts. And she said, you know, quilters we ought to have the quilters night before Christmas. So she decided to challenge her friends to make a small quilt that would illustrate one of the verses of A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement Clark Moore, and that's otherwise known as 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Moore wrote the poem for his children in 1822, and then it was published. The poem was published in 1823, and 200 years later, it's every American kid's favorite poem. So each quilter that answered her challenge needed to make a small quilt, 24 by 36, and it had to have a small quilt in it. And it was to illustrate one particular stanza of that poem. This quilt, and she has a book with the page written on it. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. So you see how well she has illustrated that, and Santa Claus is actually bringing a bag with a quilt that was on it. So we have a little quilt, 24 by 36, that corresponds to each stanza of that quilt, and we have the whole 28 verses here on display.
Hi, I'm Brian McCoy. I am known as the Redneck Quilter. I am here vending at the West Virginia Quilt Festival here in Summersville at the Summersville Convention and Arena. We're here from Bolts and Quarters Quilt Shop out of Parkersburg, West Virginia. And we're vending as part of the show here. We brought basically like a fraction of the store. We brought our sewing and quilting notions, supplies, the long arms, and we do demos. We show our folks how to use different rulers, how to quilt different patterns. I'm one of the guest instructors here this weekend teaching my newest pattern called Stars and Wreaths. But as a vendor here, we have different shops and businesses that are here selling different products. Not every shop can carry everything in their stores, so every shop is very unique and different to what we have available to sell to folks that are here visiting the quilt show, which happens to be the largest quilt show in the state of West Virginia.
Quilt of Valor is a civilian award to honor the individual service and sacrifice to defend our country's freedoms. The mission of the Quilt of Valor Foundation is to cover service members and veterans touched by war with comforting and healing quilts of valor. The foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The first Quilt of Valor was awarded at Walter Reed Hospital in 2003, and since that time we've awarded almost 350,000 quilts nationwide. Quilt of Valor is a civilian award to our service members and veterans. It's not a gift, it's an award. And it's not to be a surprise. The veteran has to have a right to be able to say yes or no that they would like it. Recipients often tell us that it means more to them than some of the medals they received in service because it comes from their local community and the makers of their quilt. Saturday at 11 a.m. we're going to be awarding 12 here at the Armory.